Hi, this is Danny Doyle, and it's my turn. No, it's Jacob's turn to start tiering, right? I did Tyronio first, or did
Yes,
you?
I believe you started with Toronto.
So let's talk about my favorite Catboy.
So Ranulf was another case where I did not realize he was going to be as useful as he was throughout the playthrough.
Yeah?
He, oh yeah, I have so little experience with using the Lagoos in a vanilla playthrough that I was so shocked to see that Ranulf was contributing so well.
I mean, that's valid.
And come on, part of the Roar Squad, able to immobilize an enemy that was so useful in so many occasions. As far as ranking goes, like he was a better version of Leth, but he delayed availability and he required the demi ban
I think
to
he's a
stay
better
transparent.
version of Moaram is a better way to think about him.
I think so
Because
too.
they're
I
both
think putting
available,
him,
like they were both useful for about one act. Moaram for the mid game, Brunel for the end game. But
I
um,
think, uh, I think between Toronio and Moaram, because
Yeah, I was
Toronio
going to
just
say that because I
Toronio
think that
never
the end game,
died.
the late game was harder than the mid game.
Yeah, the mid game wasn't too difficult, but I think that's because we had Kieran and Titania
Mm-hmm.
and Jill, and
Mm-hmm.
the enemies were still super weak. But by the time we got Ranulf, we really wanted the beefy units like Toronio. So I think that's a fair placement for him, especially since he pretty much obsoletes Moaram because the moment you get Ranulf, you kind of can't field Moaram much anymore because he takes up the demi band.
I also think like one of the reasons that a unit who joins in the end game or the late game feels better than a unit that joins in the mid game is because like in the mid game you had things like Stefan who is statted for the late game, but you have him in the mid game. And you also still have like Kieran and Titania haven't quite fallen off yet. So for that reason, like Moaram joins at a point where there are a lot of units who can compare to him combat wise. Ranulf, not so much. Like when Ranulf joined, like I had Tyronio and I got Har shortly thereafter, but like he's only side by side with like Tanith and Har in terms of like a mobile combat unit because Tyronio is stronger than him stat wise, but I mean we
Yeah,
just
the
went
extra
over this like
movement,
the movement cost thing, you know?
the extra move on Ranulf is nice, but not having the ability to counter at two range or
Mm-hmm.
Kanto, it hurts. Like, which one do you want more? More movement or the ability to attack at two range, or the ability to counter at two range and take zero damage? And I just think Toronio did more for us.
Oh yeah, I would
Memes
argue Tyranio
aside.
is a better unit. I just think that the reason that Ranulf is better than Moaram is
Oh
with
yeah.
Moaram you're comparing him to people like Stefan and Titania and Jill. Like who was even who would have replaced
Um,
Moaram if I wasn't using Moaram? Like Devdon? Makalov?
Probably. I think Devdom would have been your next best choice, which is
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Whereas like if something happened to Ranulf and I had to bench him, like I could have taken Moram off the bench. I could have used Stefan more. I could have looking over the list. I mean, I could have brought Devdon out if I absolutely needed to. There's some chapters where I didn't field all of the late game squad, where like Bastion, for example, wasn't in Twisted Tower. Um, yeah, I or
I can
like even
definitely see.
Janaf and Ulki probably could have replaced Ranulf if something bad happened to Ranulf and I still had the demi band because they have wings, you know. But
That's
like
also
none of
true.
them could replace Moaram.
Yes, I see where you're coming from with it.
So wait, does that mean Moaram's better? I think that makes Moaram better, even though I think the end game is harder than the mid game. I think I just argued in favor of Moaram and pretended it was in favor of Ranulf, right?
It did sound more like It sounded more like you were saying Warm is less replaceable.
Yeah, Moram is less replaceable. No, I think you're right. I think I was arguing in favor of Moram while pretending that I was arguing in favor of Ranulf.
I guess in that case, why didn't we field Moarum instead of Renolf? Well, Renolf has Roar.
Well, also Moram has worse stats than Ranulf.
But yeah, Moarum helped out when we had less really good units. Because we didn't have Tanith yet, we didn't have Taronio yet.
Yeah.
So I can see this assessment.
The chapters where like the endgame chapters, the chapters where Ranulf is helping out, I think are harder. And I think like having him helps more. But I think he's also more replaceable, potentially. Is he like
This
is so weird.
It's where tier lists get weird whenever availability comes into it and you're like, okay, like technically you perform better than this person, but your availability counts against you.
I mean, I value availability very highly, but I also
So
think that, like, I think it's also fair to say, like, in a 0% growth context, Oscar is not available in the end game, even if he survived. Like,
No,
what are you gonna throw Oscar at the generals in fucking repatriation? Is Oscar gonna take on a dragon? Ranulf took on a dragon.
That is very true, for sure.
So, like, it complicates things in terms of, like, availability also means the chapters where they are available and contribute. You know? Because, like, Mia technically has higher availability than Moarum, but there are fewer maps where she does damage.
You're right. That was a very long discussion about two units that I don't even feel that highly of, usually.
I think I'm taking this a bit too seriously, even though I went on a spiel about it not being definitive in any way, shape, or form or helpful.
I think it's kind of funny how into this you're getting. Like, that was...
Yeah, I hate this so much. You've turned me into the thing that I hate. In before we spend 20 minutes debating between Tabarn and Nysala which one's better, even though we didn't use either of them.
You were supposed to destroy the tier list, not join them.
I hate this so much. What have you turned me into?
Oh, do we want to wash our mouth out by talking about Har instead?
Yeah, I think Har's better than Geronio.
Man, it's too bad Har got doubled all the time and never doubled anything, right?
I think Har's better than Geronio because he has wings, and wings are good.
Yeah, that's true. Har did have some I remember Har having some accuracy issues. And I remember him having some misses that costed us at some point, and I just don't remember Taronio having those accuracy problems. But
yeah,
they joined...
but also, like, the Brave Weapon.
Yeah,
the Brave Weapon helps out with that.
They join, like, barely a chapter apart. So I can definitely see Har being better, mostly for the movement, because they're just about as durable. They both have 1-2 range. Yeah, I can see this.
Also, think about it this way, like, Har's gonna kill units that Tyronia is never going to see in combat.
You're right. So Har gets the credit for enemies that are 10 tiles across the map because Tyronia will never run them.
Yes. Yes, I think that's a good way to like frame it.
We thought Bastion was gonna live.
I think Bastion's C tier.
Yeah, he was fine filler.
I'll put him here because like the chapters he was in are harder than the ones these guys were, right?
I think he did more than what Janaf did. I think having the Siege Tome hitting on res and having Tornado at base did more than what I think Janaf ever did. So I think this is pretty fair. I don't really have very much to say about him because he just kind of didn't... He joined so late that he never gets to do anything. So
yeah,
I think this is fair.
He can use Siege Tomes, though.
Yeah, Siege Tomes, having Tornado at base. It's neat. I think that's just about it. Like, it's neat, and that's about it.
Shoutouts to him dodging that one hit, though. that that was certainly a moment.
And then you let Largo die and
Yeah, because I'm a
everyone
fucking
died.
idiot and I didn't remember to elixir up. And you know, I've made that mistake before in a different game where I was like, I will send this unarmed Pegasus Knight to distract the one unit that I need on the other side of the map, and like I'll just have to vulnerate every turn, and then I like kept forgetting to vulnerate one turn, and I'd have to reset like 5 or 6 turns in. Ugh. If anything,
Yes.
like, well, that's a problem with Largo. That's not a problem with Bastion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think Bastion's C tier. I think this is a good spot for him.
I think so too.
Your favorite unit. Your favorite unit is next up. So I don't remember whose turn it is because I'm really bad goldfish brain, and also like I had to send something to my girlfriend because the recording's going longer than expected. I had to push back date night. So why don't you start with Lucia because you like her so much, and I iconically brought Lucia's bad instead of the restore staff.
I like both Lucia and Jeffrey. The problem is only one of them's good.
You don't think
Lucia.
Jeffrey's good? You don't think Jeffrey's unironically good?
So yes, Lucia's bad. I don't think she's.
I want to
I
piss
don't
you
think
off.
she's.
I want to piss you off. I'm putting her in the bottom of F tier, and there's no way you can convince me otherwise.
What's sad is I think you're right. I can't think of any reason why she should be higher. Like, there's nothing she brings to the table. I somewhere in the back of my mind, I was hoping that in a 0% run, we were hopefully going to get to use Lucia somewhere to fill in a niche somewhere.
She brought a Laguz guard that I gave to Joffrey, and that's actually, I didn't point this out in the video, but that's why he survived the cat for so long and why the general killed him. It's because the
That's
cat was getting
true.
Laguz guarded.
Yeah, I can't as much fun as I had using her in Radiant Dawn. There is no way to justify having her any higher. She joins so late and doesn't contribute anything besides a silver sword and a slayer.
It's not a Laguz Slayer, it's a Laguz guard.
Oh, Lugu's guard. That's right. That thing.
It's
So, I
the
totally see
stop
where
getting
this is coming
slayed by
from.
Laguz. Yeah, I mean, I talked about it in unit analysis. I don't want to spend too long talking about like vanilla, but I think that she's the worst unit in the game, and I went into
Oh yeah,
why.
for sure.
Like I think she's worse than Rolf. I think she's worse than Soth because Soth has thief utility. I think she's worse than Makalov and Braum and all the other like people you never use.
Oh, I think so too. I think she's worse than all of them, mostly because all of them have some. You can at least early game use some of those people, but you just can't with Lucia.
I feel like
Unless
every game has a unit that you look at and you're like, why does this unit exist? And I think that that is Lucia for Path of Radiance.
half of the Shadow Dragon cast.
Yeah.
Everyone who's not Sheeta and Jagan or Lena.
Or Harden.
Harden's good. You're right. And
Wolf
Abel.
and Sedgar.
But don't worry, we'll tier all of those
Tiki.
whenever we're done. We'll tier all of those guys whenever we're done with Shadow Dragon Hard 5.
No, you're not making me do this.
But you don't want to tier Violent? I thought he was like your favorite unit.
What the fuck are you talking about?
We've been recording for too long. We need to keep going.
Biraku emblem. I start with Joffrey then. I mean, I think Joffrey's solidly in B for the same reason that, like, Tyronio and Har are.
Agreed. I think...
I kind of want to put Moram above Tyronio, because for all the good that Tyronio's combat is, and, like, as fun as it was to see him choke a couple of doors, I think the high movement and the availability is probably better. And on that regard, like, Joffrey is also better than both of them because of Kanto.
Yeah, I would say
even
Jeffrey's
with the low
better
availability, like...
I'd say Jeffrey's better than both of them because he has the high move that Muarim has, but he also has the ability to use forges. He can use two range.
He can use brave weapons.
He can use brave
Like, he
weapons.
comes with the brave lance as if to tell you, like, use this.
So I think he's better than. I know Muarim has the availability, but I think Jeffrey just contributes more than Muarim would have.
I agree, and I also think that he's just, like, very fun to use. Like, it was so fun to be able to once again use a paladin that was just wrecking things after Titania fell off so long ago. Like, paladins are what Path of Radiance is made for, and I didn't get to use any of them.
Even in vanilla runs, I love using Jeffrey all the time. I think it's because I like his design so much, and I like his position in the story. I have a heart for all of the Crimean characters. I love Bastion, I love Lucia, Jeffrey, I love all of them.
He kind of fills the Dusel role in, like, gameplay, in that, like, you run to save him, but he's pretty capable and probably going to protect himself anyway.
Yeah, he's that same kind of... He also kind of reminds me of... He's to Alencia what Seth is to Erica almost. He's just that super overly loyal, I will run out into the heat of battle for you kind of people. And I don't know why, but I absolutely love characters like that. I think I'm just a sucker for fairy tale stuff like that.
Are you single and yearning? Because that could explain it. Like, no, I don't mean that as an insult.
I was about to say, so Largo, he has funny...
Okay, well, we can move on. I didn't mean to pull your personal life into a tier list video. That's my punishment for you tearing me. Terrifying me. You tear-pilled me.
what about Largo? Okay, Largo was way more useful than I thought Largo was going to be.
Holy shit, yeah. He was just Stefan, but better.
I did not think Largo was going to be useful at all. I thought he was going to join, we were going to deploy him for a map, and then he was going to die, and we were going to laugh at him. I know that sounds really cynical, but I really thought that's what Largo was going to be in this playthrough.
That is my experience with Largo in every playthrough prior to this. Every time I play, I'm like, this is going to be the time I use Largo, and he fucking does. He fucking dies to that. It's always to that same cat on his joining map. That cat, like, doubles him and one rounds him. Or, like, that plus a boulder. It's just...
Yeah,
because it's really big HP, but low defense equals Ponage Incarnate.
I really thought Largo was just going to be a nothing person in this playthrough, but I am oddly satisfied with how he performed. As far as where he belongs on the list,
very bottom of B tier.
Yeah, he filled that same niche. Like, he came, Stefan left. He filled that same niche of, like, just being a good, like, can kill something unit.
We got to see the Colossus hand axe animation.
I never would have thought to see Colossus trigger off of a hand axe.
You know what's very funny, though? So we gave him Colossus at the end of Moment of Truth, right?
Yeah.
Colossus only triggers if you have higher constitution than the enemy. What is the map after Moment of Truth? What type of enemies are the map almost exclusively made up of? Cats, tigers, and dragons all have higher constitution than even the beefiest of PoR. Maybe I should have given the statue frag. For Colossus memes.
Oh, it's like the skill itself is, what is it? 1.5 times extra damage if you have higher con than the enemy, or higher weight than the enemy.
I do not fucking know. I do not fucking know.
It's so bad. Like, you think Astra is bad. Look at Colossus and you'll see just how garbage a card scrolls can really be.
I think chance-based skills are bad in general. Like, there's a reason that I just don't like relying on them, because they are usually just what if crit, but in a different way. Like, Luna is what if crit, but instead of tripling damage, it reduces the enemy's defense to 0. What if Colossus is what if instead of crit, it's half a crit.
What if instead of crit, it's bad crit?
Fucking Corona, or is it Corona or what's the magical
It's
one?
Flare in this
It's
game.
Flare in this game. It's Corona and Radiant Dawn, except for when it's also Flare. Like sometimes it's Corona, sometimes it's Radiant, sometimes it's Flare. It's weird, but Flare is what if instead of this enemy having 2 resistance, they had 0?
I know in Radiant Dawn, Flare it heals you. Like you hit them at 0 res and it heals you. But I think
yeah,
Corona
it's like Soul.
Yeah, Corona is like you hit them at 0 resistance and it like lowers their luck to 0 or something. It reduces a stat for the next turn. I can't remember what stat it is. I just remember that it's bad.
It reduces
cool
it reduces their luck.
Okay, it probably
doesn't, but
it's some skill that reduces by so many points for a turn or something. It's bad.
Hey, I mean ninjas are good though.
But Largo doesn't have Corona, does he? Oh, maybe that's
Largo gets Corona when he reclasses into Sage in Radiant Dawn.
That's why he can't be used in Radiant Dawn. Well, we just successfully.
Oh, because he's social distancing. Because he has Corona.
He has to stay away from everyone.
Let's talk about Alencia.
I already have like a great idea of where I would put Alencia. Well,
you go first then. Because I have no idea.
I just realized availability is going to cut into this because I would have easily put her in like A because flying staff.
God, she's available for 3 maps total. She's in Clash, yeah, right. She's in Moment of Truth, and she's not in Twisted Tower. She's in Repatriation.
No, I realized now that with having low availability, like having another staff is so. Having a mounted staff is so useful, but it's only for 3 chapters. I don't know. It's tricky because I don't think she goes any lower than B, but that's because she contributed by taking the restore staff somewhere far away from the sleep staffs.
What is even the story reason for why she can't play in that map?
I don't remember. She has to go do something or whatever. I think she's going to like gather the rest of Crimea to join you for the war. I think she's going around Crimea.
I'll put her at the top of C. I'll put her at the top of C. How's that?
I think she's better than Bastion because Bastion just chips things, whereas Alencia keeps you alive.
Yeah, and like Kanto is good.
There were several moments, even in the last chapter, where we needed to fly Alencia into enemy range, physics someone, and then run back out. Like, Risk couldn't do that because he would be stuck in enemy range.
It's also easy to get her to Ashira staff.
Yes, I think with physic range being so low, it was nice to have someone who can go into enemy range, physic someone, and then get out of enemy range without having to spend a flyer or a mounted unit to rescue them. Because if you did that with Risk, you had to spend Tanith or Har rescuing.
You had to spend 2 units, because I had to spend someone to take drop him, unless I wanted to leave him as a backpack. Which, like, that's what ended up happening in Twisted Towers. I just didn't have healing because he was in Har's saddlebags. And then I was like, well, I don't want to spend a turn dropping him again.
I think that's why, with the low physic range, having a Kanto healer is so helpful, because you can... If you have 10 physic range, you never have to worry about going into enemy range to heal someone. But I think where she is now, yeah, only for availability reasons. Otherwise, I would have her so high on this list if availability wasn't so bad.
Speaking of someone oh, go ahead.
Even if she never saw a single round of combat, if she could only use stabs, I still think she would be that high.
Speaking of someone who never saw a single round of combat, do we want to tier Nasir? I kind of want to tier all these guys. Just like in the theoretical, like my Ike triggered Luna, my Ike triggered like Ether and Astra, my Ike triggered Astra, Ether, So my X triggered whatever fucking skill they're going to give to the avatar of FE17. The personal skill that just like deletes enemies. He triggered lethality against the Black Knight. So now suddenly we have Nasir.
I think what's going to help us is if we do Enna first, because Nasir is just better Enna.
Yeah.
So I think if we do Enna first, and then we can kind of see like how much better would Nasir have been. So Enna has no availability, and the only thing she did throughout the whole playthrough was kill the final boss.
She helped out in Twisted Tower. You take that fucking back. She helped out in Twisted Tower.
I think she did like 2 rounds of combat in Twisted Tower.
We got to see dragon animations though.
Oh, we saw lots of dragon animations, but it was while she was a red unit.
So what do you think? I mean, a unit who does something in just their joining chapter, which functionally, like Twisted Tower plus Repatriation is basically that, right? Top of D?
Yeah,
Top of D because the thing that she did is irreplaceable. Like, all of these units did things that, like, theoretically, what Boyd did could have been done by Oscar. Theoretically, what Soren did could have been done by Ilyana. Theoretically, what Marcia did could have been done by Jill if I was willing to let her die. You know?
Yeah,
no one could do what Enna did.
Because we could, I think that's right. Because she didn't do anything besides killing the final boss, and Nasir would just do that, but better.
And also, he has a better skill. I could have not taken whatever the fuck his skill is off of him in Twisted Tower, and I could have only put Wrath Resolve on him in Repatriation if I wanted to. I also think he has better gauge. So I might not have needed to use that first stone, because Enna was at, like, 13 when, I used the first stone, and it could have been that Nasir was just at the point where he could have transformed by turn 9.
Yeah, I don't know if statistically he could have been bumped up into the next tier, because to do that, I think he would have had to have been able to double and do significant damage to the Lagoose and Twisted Towers.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know if he would have been able to do that. I don't remember. I can look it up real quick and see how statistically different they are. But I don't think it's by very much. Here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put both of the Bird Kings in Stinky Poo Poo tier.
Because they didn't do anything.
Well, not just because they didn't do anything, but because even if, for some reason, like, you had a copy of the ROM where it was just like, sorry, Gifka's busy, pick one of the other two. I do not think that... So, on the one hand, Tibarn deals some amount of damage to Ashnard, not enough to, like, outpace healing, but if you are, like, trying to get... if you're trying to have him, like, do a little bit of chip so that Enna can get the kill or whatever, he can theoretically get there faster because he flies. But he deals less damage. Okay, I actually think this is probably the order they would go in. It's just a matter of, are Gifka and Tibarn the bottom of D tier, or are they the top of F tier?
What's funny is we're only counting for when they were blue, but if we were counting all the time, Tibarn would go higher because of Serenus Forest and the tower, but sadly that doesn't count.
I mean, I even if we did, like, I don't think it would affect them enough that Tibarn changes tiers to be a different tier than Gifka. Because they accomplish the same thing. I picked Gifka because it... So the other reason that I would say Tibarn is, like, higher than Gifka, even though I picked Gifka without hesitation, is that if you are trying to do this as an LTC, which YouTube keeps telling me to watch someone's LTC... There's, like, 2 different LTC 0% growths of Fire Emblem 9 that YouTube keeps telling me to watch, so I can't wait to see just how many stupid decisions I made. But I think that if you were doing this in LTC, what you would do is, and I might be wrong about this, but if I had to guess, you go in the middle, and you do that thing I was talking about where you, like, manipulate Ashnard into attacking at one range, which I guess you didn't actually need to manipulate because he does it anyway.
Yeah, he kept
You
attacking at
get
one range,
her
which was pretty
to, like, you
cool.
rig a critical for turn 1, you get her to instantly critical one-shot him, and then you give yourself to Barn. Tabarn can get over the fountain walls, so he doesn't have to like run around like Gifka would. And you can probably, through some combination of the rescue staff and maybe some shoves, like if you deployed nothing but like Moaram and Mordecai and gave them both smite, and who else is like a high constitution? Like maybe Largo and Tyronio could shove him. I imagine if you were purely going for LTC, you could probably do it more easily with Tabarn than you could with Gefka, and even though that's not the playthrough that I did, or like what I was trying to do, I think that gives Tabarn more credit than Gifka. Because ultimately they would both probably do the same thing. Like Gifka chipped a little bit so that Enna could finish, and Tabarn would probably do the same thing, probably less effectively, but like he gets there faster. And even the route that I went, he would have gotten there faster if I was concerned about LTC, but not concerned enough to go through the fountain. He would have gotten there faster because he wouldn't have had to go around up the stairs.
That's true.
Although, actually, come to think of it, I don't know how much shoving you could do. Oh, no, you could, Okay, I was going to say you can't actually shove him to have him help out if you, like, go to the fountain route, but you probably could because you could, like, take the band off him, and then he loses constitution, and then shove him, and then put the band back on him, and that doesn't count as a... Like, you can have him do that without moving.
Yeah, it's a free action. That's true.
So that's probably... Although I don't know if he's in a position where he can be shoved from the start. Oh! Okay, I mean, like, this is all irrelevant to my playthrough, my style of play, but, like, it is interesting to theorycraft. You probably rescue staff him and then shove him a bunch, so that he's not against the bottom wall, so you can shove him forward.
That's true.
Because, like, who do you have with rescue? Like, the highest magic unit with rescue is probably Alencia. So you can rescue him, like, 6 squares forward and then smite him, and that's a total of 10 squares, like if you smite him with both smite bots. And then 10 squares plus his movement plus flying over the walls is probably enough to get to Ashnard. And if not, like, Tyronio and Largo probably have enough constitution to shove him if he's untransformed. Maybe. Or a dance. You could dance in. Too.
That's true. So thank you for filling up the time, because I was able to calculate the difference between Nasir and Enna's stats.
And?
Well, oh, I just realized I'm going off of full transformation bonuses, though.
Why would you not? I guess if you spend your stones on racing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We used the Lagoo stone. That's right. I'll let you decide if this sounds like worthy of how much higher he belongs, but he would have had 4 extra HP, 5 extra strength, 7 extra skill, 6 extra speed, 2 extra defense, and 6 extra res.
That's a lot. The res doesn't matter because Ashnard hits physical, but that's a lot. And
but I think
the HP is a big deal because it means you can set up a resolve and then heal and not lose resolve without wasting an angelic robe.
Plus, if I'm looking at this right, I think the strength would put his strength at an even number, which means he would get an extra point of resolve strength over Enna. Like it's even higher, because that means so he would get 3 extra strength off of resolve if I'm just doing the quick math in my head. So he would have even further more strength speed over her, which means he might have been able to, with that extra strength, we might not have had to worry about crits as much. We probably could have, like, blitzed Ashnard a little bit harder. And maybe he could have survived a bit easier.
What's his gauge?
I don't know if that's... Boyfie doesn't show his starting. So...
Because, like, that's also a difference. Because if I didn't have to use a stone on him, and then I could have used a stone on either Mordecai, or maybe even had him see combat prior to Ashnard. Like, that's a lot. I don't think anything that he could do would bring him higher than D tier because of the poopy garbage, like, only being
Yeah.
available for 2 maps, and one of them is like just to kill the boss. But I think I'm pretty happy with this as the way that the Royals and Dragons show up. How do you feel about it?
I can't find anywhere that lists his exact gauge. All I see on the Dota wiki is that it says that he has a low starting gauge, which takes around 4 turns to transform.
4 turns to transform would be a gauge of, he gains 4 every turn. He starts with a gauge of 0 or 4.
Okay,
because 0 means that he transforms on turn 5. So yeah. Well, no, so 16 means transform on turn 1, 0 means transform on turn 4. Wow, he has a worse gauge than Enna. Holy shit.
It looks like he actually has a worse gauge than her, which is bizarre. Interesting.
I mean, I value Gage a lot, but I'm not going to put Enna higher than Nasir because there's no excuse for that.
No, he would be so much better if we could have had him. Looking at all this, I think this looks pretty fair. I keep thinking Leth looks a little bit higher than she belongs, but maybe that's just me.
Do you think she's better than Har? I think she's better than Har. She was available for so long.
She was.
Like, I think you're having recency bias, so the fact that Har, Joffrey, Tyronio, like, all carried.
I'm having a hard time remembering the earlier game where she was more useful. It's like I mentioned, I forgot who we were talking about whenever I mentioned that, just the later impression. Oh, it's whenever I was talking about Tanith, that the later impression that Tanith left over Titania was just so good that it's hard to remember how good the other units were.
I am actually somewhat tempted to put Titania above Racing because of availability, but I think, like, just leaving your Dancer at the highest possible spot is probably... You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, for sure. I think this looks good then. It's always odd because the really good ones like Tyronio and Largo end up looking low because of availability, but that's just the nature of how a list works.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to see Largo end up higher, eventually we'll have to... Well, okay, I did want to say anything about this, but I have been thinking about... Because Fire Emblem 9 is such a fun game. And Resolve is such a fun skill that I don't ever want to like, that you don't get in other games, even in Radiant Dawn. I've been thinking about 0% growthing Path of Radiance reverse recruitment at some point. Where you get Colossus Largo in Chapter 1. And Ike is Alincia with the Amity. It's so stupid.
You're completely mad. You know that, right?
I'm the Mad King, Ashnard. But yeah, it's
Well,
now,
you want to know what the best part about a tier list is?
What?
The best part about making any tier list in any video ever is now the commenters get to go down in the comments and tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah. Tell us about how actually Lucia should be the highest unit.
And make sure to only use facts and logic when debating which units belong at the top, okay? So I want to see concrete proof why Nephany is better than Riss, okay?
I actually don't care about those type of comments. I want to see somebody who is so passionate about arguing the positions of Soren versus Maya and why Soren should actually be one square to the left of where he is. Or like the argument over whether Janaf or Bastion did more.
Arguing over like the inside the tiers, like who belongs higher within the tier itself.
I mean, I will be 100% honest. I'm one of the people that DM'd Mecha about like him sandbagging Janaf on or not DM'd, I was talking to him on a call, but whatever. About sandbagging Janaf and how like Janaf should have actually been higher. And then he actually adjusted his tier list because of that, because I know more about Path of Radiance than him. So that's what you should take away from this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and actively comment about the differences between these 3 units. Actively comment about why Makalov and Ike should switch places so that they can hold hands. The cursed pairing.
For a moment there, I thought you meant so Ike and Makalov could, and I was like, why
I mean, Ike's
though? Because you
gay,
just said
but I'm
gay.
pretty sure Makalov is not. He does have pink hair, but that's just an anime thing. That's not a LGBT thing.
It's been real, it's been fun, and it has been real fun. Thank you for having me along for this whole trip.
And thank you for joining me. And look forward to joining me for the Heart Seal playthrough.
Oh, I
I'm
do.
very excited for that one. Um, yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.